What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel. I am your host, Trinity. Thank you all so much for being here today. I hope you're all having a very good day today. God, man, can you believe it's already Thursday, man? I'm telling you, this year is just flying by, and maybe it's just because I recently became a content creator. I don't know, I guess just a little bit less than a year ago. I don't know, it just seems like time's flying really, really fast. But yeah, I hope, man, what's going on here with my stream here? Is everything going good on your guys' end over there? I'm not sure. It looks a little wonky on my side over here. If there's anything going on there, please let me know about it. Please feel free to leave a comment down in the comments section so we can, I don't know, see what's going on with this thing. It seems like it's skipping back and forth and doing some odd stuff. Maybe it's just my connection. I don't know. Yeah, let me know what you guys are seeing on your end. And yeah, that'd be awesome. And yeah, so anyway, guys, today, make sure that, if you're here, make sure you smash that like button. You know what I mean? You gotta give this. Oh man, is this thing really doing that? I don't know. Like I said, if you're here, please let me know. If there's something crazy going on here, I may have to end the stream and restart it. I'm not sure. Let me check here on my other. Let me check on my phone. Let me check on my phone and see how that's all going. But if there's any problems, guys, please feel free to leave. Uh, Please feel free to let me know down in the comments if there's ever anything going wrong here. Okay, let's see here. Um, no, all right, yeah, no, it looks like it's going good. Good deal. Okay, so yeah. Now I'm not sure you guys see. In case you guys didn't know, I've been having kind of some internet problems here lately, and I don't know what's going on here with this thing here on. Man, there we go. Why don't we just do that so then I don't have to see that? Okay. So guys, welcome. Now here on the morning movie chat, typically I usually talk about movies and what's going on, and I didn't get to do yesterday's show because I was having problems with our internet, and those problems are all solved. Everything's all good now. We are all copacetic here. We're at the Second Street Marvel, so yes. And today I want to talk about there is these new. I guess they're not necessarily leaks. I mean, we got announced that Ant-Man 3 is finally going into production, and it's been announced, and we will be getting an Ant-Man 3. And what happened was there's been a lot of talk lately about. Well, I was watching, one of my favorite channels, and that's the Den of Nerds, where they were talking about man, where they were talking about kind of the future of Marvel and exactly what's going on there with this movie. And, because there's apparently this movie is going into production under the production name of Limbo. And that's kind of interesting to me, guys. Not too long ago, I did a video. Talking about this. There was some Easter eggs in the Avengers Endgame movie that I actually built a theory on at the time, and I built this theory on regarding Ant-Man and what's going on here. And now we're getting it announced that we're getting this Ant-Man 3 movie. And then on top of that, it's going under production called Limbo, and that is very interesting to me because it has to do with this issue I was talking about the other day here on the channel, and that is that. Let's see, how is this thing gonna work here? Okay, yeah, and that's that the movie going into production here, going under Limbo, has a lot of implications of things to come. I think. I mean, I could totally be wrong there. Um, but what it has to do with is back in Avengers Endgame, there was a scene. I did this video. I remember I did this video. I believe it was on March 18th. If my research, the few minutes of research that I did prove correct, it was on March 18th. I did a video here on the channel. You can go look it up. Where it was back when I was taking the Trailer Park News a little more seriously before I started doing the Myrtle thing, and basically what I was talking about there in that particular video was there was this shot of Scott Lang before we had actually seen Avengers Endgame, where he was sitting there carrying this, he had the little suitcase or he had the little wagon in his hand, and there was some videos going around. People thought that it had to do with, thought that it was Hank Pym's lab, and I debunked that pretty quick. And of course, we all know there's plenty of people out there. One of somebody I I used to watch quite often, but used to do my best to help out with some of the theories and stuff, because the person that Warstu has working with him doing some of his research, they're not very good. Let me just tell you that. And that's there was also another time when we seen one of the trailers and there was the bow hanging in the background and they thought it was Loki's scepter, and it's like no, it's a bow. Go watch Avengers Infinity War, it'll tell you that. So yeah, so then what happened was, in that same scene, in that same exact scene, there was there's an address on this house in the background. And yeah, guys, I know, you're probably thinking like, Trinity, you're absolutely nuts, okay? You're crazy. But I built this theory based on this address that was in the background. It was 1064. And what I was hypothesizing, I guess you could say, what I was hypothesizing, theorizing, was that this movie was going to have to do with Immortus. The Avengers Endgame was going to have to do with Immortus, because the numbers 1064 in the background it reminded me of I went and did some really dug in and did some research, and I came up across and I found, and I finally got this because I was talking about this on Tuesday, guys, was this right here, this Avengers issue 10 from 1964. And we can see right here, the Avengers break up, featuring the truly different villainy of the evil Immortus. Now, in case you don't know who Immortus is, he is basically like a different version, like a future version or a past. I guess he's a past version of King the Conqueror, which is very interesting if you ask me, because there's been a lot of people that were crafting theories based on that as well, and that's all fine and dandy. And man, is this? Hold on, guys, I'm telling you, things are a little bit odd here on my end. Let me see. Is this where? Okay, yeah, everything's all good. Man, I don't know. My phone, or not my phone, but my internet's being really odd today. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but yeah. So I was talking about this comic book right here that is Avengers issue number 10 from 1964. 1064. It was the address on the house. I mean, I don't know. It just seemed to kind of make a little bit of sense to me in that sense, right? I don't know. I could be wrong, but basically, it's interesting that this movie is going into production under the under the term limbo, because limbo has to do with this dimension of limbo that Immortus is actually part of. And I was trying to talk about this on Tuesday, and I couldn't get this stuff to pull up on my computer for some reason, because Marvel Unlimited, it's obviously not meant to be read on a computer. It's more for your tablet or for your phone, because I couldn't get it to work for anything here. But basically, what we find in this issue is that the Avengers, well, for one, Captain America was fighting them. Yeah, he was fighting all the Avengers at one point, because Rick Jones had got taken by Immortus and he got thrown back in time. And all of this came about because what had happened was Baron Zemo, the Enchantress, and even Scourge the Executioner kind of had this plan to go out there, and they had this plan to go out there and destroy the Avengers. And Immortus shows up and pretty much tells them like, "Hey, you guys join me, and I'll help you defeat the Avengers." And of course, I'm doing it for my own purposes. I have my own reasons, my own agenda here for why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's exactly what we get in this particular issue. Now, the interesting thing here about most of this is that Immortus is actually, like I said, he's a future version of King the Conqueror. He is, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is Nathaniel Richards. Am I wrong there? I could be wrong there. Feel free to beat me up in the comments about that. So we see that they end up going up against Immortus, and Captain America was fighting the Avengers because Immortus had told him, like, hey, like, the Avengers are the ones who gave Rick Jones up. They led me to him. They sent him here. Like, it's not me. You need to go talk to your friends. And naturally, he only did this to get Captain America to bring the Avengers to him so he could destroy them. And what he was doing was he was using figures from the past to fight against the Avengers. He used people like Hercules, Merlin, and even, oof, man, who was the other one? There was Hercules, Merlin, and somebody else. And I can get into this issue and show you. But here, we see at the very beginning the Avengers are, oh man, what's this thing doing that? There we go. They're sitting there training in Avengers headquarters, and then they're talking about making Rick Jones into an Avenger. And they ask Captain America about that, and Cap's kind of like, hey man, like, I don't know about all this, and they get into a little fight. Well, and then we flash to this scene right here, where Baron Zemo and the Masters of Evil are kind of sitting there hatching their plan to go after and destroy the Avengers. And so the Masters of Evil pretty much say, well, hey, why are we going to listen to you? Why should we follow you? And he tells them, like, hey, I can destroy all these Avengers, and I'll show you how to do it. So like I said, he gets Rick Jones, sends him back in time, gets Captain America there, sent there after him. Captain America goes and confronts the Avengers, saying, hey man, why are you guys giving up my friend? And so they're all sitting there fighting, and they can't, it's most of these guys could barely hold Cap off because he went in there pissed off. And so they end up getting there to confront Immortus to get Rick Jones back. And here's where they go, and they Goliath. Goliath is the other person that they have in there, and that's very interesting. That the people that Immortus has them fighting is Hercules, Merlin, and Goliath. These are the three people that are basically the Avengers are fighting here throughout the course of this book. And all for different reasons. I think it's kind of funny that Iron Man is fighting Merlin. Just kind of funny because we all know in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Tony pretty much relies on magic for a suit now. I mean, come on, what are nanobots? Come on, guys. Seriously here. Kobe Reviews Movies, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. And so what happens throughout the course of this book is we see that the Avengers fight. They go back and they fight. They're fighting Immortus. Captain America gets sent back in time to save Rick Jones, and Immortus had told him, like, hey man, if you can save this guy, I'll return you back to your time, and it's all good, no harm, no foul. We're all good, right? So he ends up saving him and getting back in time to save the Avengers, who were getting their asses handed to them by these three villains, by Merlin, by Goliath, and by Hercules. And conveniently, they were all fighting people that were conveniently matched with them. But so what we get here is we get to the end of the book, and Enchantress sets this spell that basically, as they were getting ready to be defeated, she summons this spell to sort of, how would you say, to send them back in time to restart all over again before Immortus ever showed up to talk to them, and and to try to help them out. And we see at the very end of the book that went too far there. At the very end of the book, we see that the Masters of Evil end up stopping, like going right to the point before Immortus showed up, where they were sitting there hatching their plot against the Avengers. Now here's the thing: is the Masters of Evil, they remember everything that had transpired, and they're kind of talking like this is something they've done before. Like they have been doing this over and over. I mean, that's time travel, right? And that, again, this brings me back to something I was talking about earlier in the week, and that's inevitability. And that's something that Thanos even was talking about in Avengers Endgame. I am inevitable, right? And that's the thing is, there are certain things that are inevitable in our lives, no matter what you try to do to change the future. Come from the future back to the past. Some things, why you might be able to change some things, there are some things that are inevitable, and that's ultimately what we see here at the very end of the book. Is that once again, once they got reset back in time, the Immortus still ended up showing up to help them defeat the Avengers. Now, here's let me go back here and show you guys where some of the things that I think are going forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as far as this character and what I'm talking about here is concerned. Oh man, did I go too far there? No, I didn't. We're still right back here. We're going right here where he says, Immortus, the master of time, the one who rules the mystic realm of Limbo, where things never change. He says, I have observed your futile battles against the Avengers with amusement, and now I shall join you for my own purposes. And this is where some of the tricky stuff comes in at, because I'll later find out, and just through some of the research that I did, and believe me, I'm no expert on this, that Immortus is actually a version of Kang the Conqueror. And this is something that a lot of people have been theorizing is going to be happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the introduction of the new Avengers and things like that. We know that Iron Lad is actually what is it? I'm pretty sure it's Nathaniel Richards. I could be wrong. Feel completely free to correct me down in the comments below if you know anything about that. If you don't, hey, it's all good, because believe me, like I said, I'm no expert on this stuff neither. But once again, I will say that it's very interesting that all this stuff is kind of leading there and going there, for some of these things, some of these just some of the stuff that's going on. And that's why, to me, it's very interesting that they are titling this movie. The production schedule is called Limbo, because to me, this leads there. And there's been a lot of speculation that we're going to get the Avengers, or not the Avengers, but the Fantastic Four possibly introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe by way of this film. And I think it's a very valid opinion as well. I think it's a very valid theory. Just based off of what I see. And like I said, I got all this from a stupid address that was in the background on Avengers Endgame, where Scott Lang was walking down the street of 1064. 1064, referring to this comic book of Avengers issue number 10 that was released back in 1964. And again, I'll go ahead and show you guys that cover. If you want to go look it up, if you have Marvel Unlimited or anything like that, you can definitely go check that out. So yeah, and that's kind of where I built my theory off of. And guys, I've got to say, like, with everything that's coming out, I think it's very possible. And for one, I'm happy we're getting a new Ant-Man film, because Ant-Man are amongst some of my absolute favorites of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. A lot of that due to Paul Rudd, just because Paul Rudd's so funny. He cracks me up. He's funny, and I don't know. He just brings a real kind of, like, just what he does in his movies. He's just a good actor, and I like it. I don't know. He displays emotionality really good. He does the comedy really good. Like I said, drama, the comedy, just kind of everything combined. And I think that's one thing that definitely plays into the Ant-Man character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and why I like him so much. Let's see. Kobe Review says, hello. He says, what costumes were at the costume contest at your local comic book shop? There were all kinds. Oh, man. There was this family there that they did this God, what was it? Power Rangers. They had the Green Power Ranger, who was the father was the Green Power Ranger. He had his son dressed up as the White Power Ranger, and he looked, and their suits were on point. I mean, they had helmets that they had probably bought, but the rest of their suits they had pretty much. I think they pretty much made all of it themselves. It looked actually really good, and they also had their daughter, who is the Pink Ranger as well. So that was really cool. Let's see who else was there. One of the contest winners was Woody, and you can always go check out my local comic book shop. You can always go check out my comic book shop. There we go. And I'll put this down in the. You can follow them. I guess it's really pointless. You can go follow them on Instagram, or even Facebook at bases, cards, and comics, all written out, bases, cards, and comics. They but yeah, there was several costumes there. My daughter, we went in our costumes. My daughter was Alita Battle Angel. My other daughter went as Mel from the Descendants. My son, he went as Night Monkey, but he forgot his mask. He forgot his mask and everything. So he wasn't completely in character. But I went as Spider Man, and my wife went as Black Widow too. So Mads Mama Bear, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate you being here. So yeah, that's just like I said, guys. That's just some of the theories that I have for this upcoming Ant-Man movie, and I think with everything that's coming out with this, I am misguided. Thank you so much for being here. What did I miss? Well, what I was talking about for the most part was about the Ant-Man 3 movie, and what I think is going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's been these theories that about the quantum realm and how that's going to be going forward, because there was some comments made a while back by I almost said Hank Pym. I mean, it's Hank Pym, but by Michael Douglas, when he was in an interview, saying that as far as he knew, like basically like Ant-Man and the quantum realm are going to have a lot to do with the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then how I kind of found that interesting, because there was this Easter egg that I found in Avengers Endgame, and this was before the movie even came out. It was in during one of the trailers, and I remember doing a video on it. I didn't take the time to find that video for you, because I'm not going to sit here and show you one of my old videos, but I'll see if I can find a link for it and post it somewhere. Maybe I'll see if I can find it and post it here in the chat or in the comments section on this video later, after we're done going live and it all uploads. But there was this address in the background that was 1064 on the house in the background of him, and I believe it referred to this comic that was Avengers number 10 from 1964. I mean, 1064. I don't know. To me, it seemed to make sense, and it being about Immortus, who is basically a past version of the character Kang, and King the Conqueror, who's constantly coming back in time to try to foil the Avengers and defeat them. And that's ultimately what I'm talking about for the most part, and how like most of the characters in this book, in this actual particular book, are currently already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got Captain America, we got Iron Man, we've got Ant-Man, and we've even got Thor. Those are the heroes that we're dealing with in this particular book. But the one character that's not there is a couple of the characters that we haven't seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are in this book are people like the Enchantress. We haven't got the Enchantress yet. We've also got Scourge the Executioner, who is there as well. And then they were being led by Baron Zemo, and they were all the Masters of Evil, is what it was. And they were going to try to defeat the Avengers. And then Immortus shows up, and Immortus is the other character that we haven't got in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I believe all of these characters that could lead up to this thing in Ant-Man Part 3 are all um, are all kind of intertwined, and why I think that the Ant-Man 3 movie could be setting up the Fantastic Four, because that's kind of been a lot of people's theory, and especially, like I said, Josh over at the Den of Nerds had made some references to that as well, and I mean, I've been on that train for a while, as far as believing, like the quantum realm will have something more to do with the future of what's going on here. And that's pretty much what I've been talking about so far, as far as that is concerned. But here in a few minutes, we're going to go ahead and get in and start talking about some comic books that released this week. And so yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I mean, do you guys think that this Ant-Man 3 could have anything to do with this? Like the introduction of the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because we've seen in Ant-Man as well, there's those scenes when they're coming out of the quantum realm where they have that underground city that is there. Well, I guess it's not underground. It's above ground in the quantum realm, I guess. But it has to do with that. And very, very well, kind of the speculation is that maybe the Fantastic Four, all got stuck in the quantum realm through some experiments that was happening when they were working with either with Hank and Janet Pym, when they were all working together as Shield. And that's all very well possible, and I think it's a high probability that all this stuff could be coming out in Ant-Man 3. And And I'm just, like I said, and I've also just been talking about Ant-Man because I'm actually happy that we're getting another Ant-Man movie. Like I said, he's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, mostly due to Paul Rudd because just he's so good at bringing this character to life. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, guys, if you want to learn more about that, you're gonna have to go. You can read this comic on Marvel Unlimited. I mean, I think, and no, they didn't sponsor this or anything. That's where I read it at. I don't own this comic book, but they have it there, and you can go back and read it. I think they're like $9.99 for a monthly subscription, or you can pay like $100 for like a yearly subscription. And I think they even they have different tiers and everything like that. So yeah, that's just what I think. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments below. Now, the other thing I want to talk about next is I want to talk about. Let's talk about some comic books, guys. And in case you guys didn't already see, I did some reviews on already that dropped yesterday on. I did some reviews yesterday on the dang it. Sorry. Things are a little jacked up here on my end. But I did some reviews yesterday already of New Mutants issue number 1. Oh, here, let me take that off the screen there. See? Like I said, I don't know. I'm a little off today, folks. But New Mutants issue number 1, this book was really good. Really good. In case you guys didn't read it or haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the Marvel universe recently, Jonathan Hickman did a soft reboot of the X-Men in the Marvel universe with the House of X and Powers of X series, and there's a lot of things in that series that are really great that went off to launch a bunch of these new titles, and I believe there's 6 new titles that have been coming out as far as these comic books. Coffee Breath, thank you so much for being here. Coffee Breath, I need to get a hold of you. I'll see if I can get a hold of you on Instagram. I think we're following each other there, so I can get you that code for that comic book that you won yesterday. Kobe Reviews Movie says possibly they might have went in the quantum realm in the 60s or 70s. Yeah, and I believe that, and I believe that to be true. It could very well be true. Now, the only thing that's tricky about that is, essentially, if they've been stuck in the quantum realm, I mean, at that point, they've aged, you know what I mean? And they're older. So, I mean, if they've been in there since the 60s and 70s, just like Janet had been, they're going to be older, you know what I mean, if they've been around that long. So it makes me wonder exactly how they're going to do that. Or are they going to maybe use the quantum realm to go back and prevent that from happening? Of course, we know how time travel gets. That makes everything all messy. If they go back and you go back and change one event, it splinters off everything in the universe going forward, which would have, man, it would have profound effects on the future. It would have profound effects on Thanos, profound effects on Tony Stark, on the Avengers, everything that we've gotten so far. So that's the tricky thing about the time travel. He says, I sent a message on Instagram. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Sweet. I'll make sure I check that out and I'll get this copy sent out to you. But yeah, so like I said, New Mutants, guys, like I said, there's it was kind of one of the, God, what is this, the 5th title spinning out of Jonathan Hickman's soft reboot of the Mutants. And guys, this book I think was really good. I was expecting more out of this comic book. I gotta be honest with you. I'm just being honest with you here. I expected a little bit more out of this comic book. However, oh, is that how time travel works? Well, and see, and that's the thing. Is like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We need to talk about that, Aggressive. We need to talk about that. Yes, and that's time travel. That's not Moira dying. That's not Moira dying, dude. I know. Let's talk about that. But here in the New Mutants book, like I said, I think my expectations for this were a lot higher, and it seems like in this book was, it was funny. It was a fun book, and there we go. X-Men is not 616. Oh man, I don't know. Like I said, we need to get together aggressively. I mean, I'm not sure if you have the. Because I know, the type of videos you do. You do like the cool little slideshows, things and stuff like that. If you have a way to live stream, man, we need to get together and have a discussion with this. It'd be great if we get Chillmonger on too. Nah, maybe not, because I know you guys are me and Chillmonger are kind of on the same side of this debate. Maybe we can get Chillmonger, me and you, and somebody else who is on your side of that debate too. Well, we can just get me and you. I think it would be a fun conversation to have about that. Man's Mama Bear says they could have gotten stuck in a part of the quantum realm where time moves very slowly, and that could easily be. And I mean, Janet Van Dyne did actually say that time works differently down in the quantum realm than it does on just on the surface, on Earth. So very true. I'm True Skills. What's up, bro? How are you doing this morning? I hope you're all doing good today. So getting back to the New Mutants, this book, guys, was really good. Like I was saying, I expected more out of this book. This book, it had a lot of funny things in it, and I think just kind of something that a lot of the comedy and funny things and situations that happen in this book are kind of diverting our attention from some of the serious seeds that are being planted in here that are soon going to be bearing fruit in the Marvel universe, probably in this book in particular, and obviously in some of the other titles that are going forward. Because this book was a lot of funny setup. Really, we see the mutants being introduced. They've been bringing mutants back to life that had passed previously there on the island of Krakoa. We see some of the characters interacting. Just some funny interactions as they're talking about just coffee and things like that. And they're actually taking some of this coffee to one of their friends out in space, and they kind of go on this mission to go see their friend. And they go on this mission with the crew of the Starjammer, and these guys are kind of like outlaws, in the space realm, which are pretty much led by Corsair, who, if I'm not mistaken, is Scott Summers' father. Let's see. He says, "Hey, I need help with making comic videos. Get a hold of me, and you can email me. All my contact information is here on the channel. Go to the About section. I am True Skills. Go to the About section here on my channel, and send me an email. Get a hold of me on Instagram, Facebook, or even Twitter, and we can get something figured out. Help get you going." Aggressively says, "I got facts on my side. You can bring Chillmonger." Well, and the thing is, like with Chillmonger, I know. He's actually on your side of the United States, but I guess he's up in Canada. But you know what I mean. Like he's more close to your time zone, so I think a lot of that would be tricky. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, he works nights, so timing would probably be kind of an issue too, because a man needs his sleep. But yeah, the New Mutants here. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in this book that aggressively says Reed Richards does not get stuck in places. I think you're right. However, maybe they were doing some experiments, and maybe, just maybe, through that, some mistakes happen. I mean, that's kind of what happens. Mistakes happen while you're experimenting with things, and kind of things go unexpected. I don't know. It could be. But yeah, this New Mutants book, guys. See, I keep getting sidetracked here. I'm not paying attention to the chat. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna ignore you guys. But New Mutants, let me know what you guys think about this if you've already read it. I think there's some seeds planted in this book that are going to be very important going forward. We've seen obviously, again, there was a bunch of funny situations in here, but just little things going on. Like at the beginning, we see Mondo and Cypher, who are sitting there trying to communicate with Krakoa, I guess, trying to find out a little bit more maybe about what's going on there with the gateways and things like that. And then they end up taking one of the gateway flowers into space with them, and while they're on that ship, they go into this one of the habitats, a Krakoan habitat, I would guess, there that they have there on the ship. And as we know, they can take all these flowers that Krakoa puts out there to make these environments and things like that. And what had happened was they took this gateway flower into this environment with this other gateway, and it was pulling them. It was being pulled towards that gateway, but through all of this, it affected the environment that was there. We seen that Chod, I think that's how you say his name is, Chod. He enters in there when they go in there. And he's like, guys, and he's pretty upset, because he has this fruit there that is bared by his home world that only blooms every decade, once every 10 years. And basically these plants were ruined, and he's going to have to wait another 10 years for more to grow. And something kind of interesting, but there was some interesting things that were said in this comic book as far as as far as this flower and it having this effect on the gate. And let me see if I can find exactly what was said here. I know I covered this in my comic book review of it, but what was said here is he says Cypher is sitting there. He's sitting there with Mondo as they're talking about this. I guess you could say this attraction between the gateway and this gateway flower. He says, "Yeah, I think there's more going on than I first thought." He says it's weird. This is some of the seeds that I think are going to have something to do going forward. He says it's weird on the island. I couldn't tell because he said I couldn't tell because Krakoa is everywhere and everything. But here in space, there's just the slightest pull between this existing gateway and this gateway flower. It's almost as if, and this is where Chad walks in and it says, they're talking to each other. That's very interesting. But of course, these are all extensions of Krakoa, and these gateways are an extension of Krakoa, as well as this environment that they have there on the ship. And I could be wrong about the environment that they have there on the ship, but it's actually causing. God, what was it? He's saying that it's. He says they want to. Chad is saying they want. They want to terraform, and he's saying that kind of how he noticed it was. Noticed that they were there was it started. It started affecting like the various levels of helium, nitrogen, and hydrogen mixtures had been elevated in this environment once they brought this flower into there, which is very interesting. Very interesting because we've seen there's problems with on the nation of Krakoa anyway with the gateways, and just if and this goes into the X-Force issue number 1 is people there, they get a sense of safety, but they're also slightly under some sort of not powers, not maybe necessarily their mind being manipulated, but maybe they are just not noticing things that they would normally be. And Wolverine actually even makes mention of that in the X-Force book. And the X-Force book is something else, guys. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in that book that if you guys didn't read X-Force, if you're reading any of these series, make sure you read New Mutants first, read X-Force last, just because of what happens in the X-Force book. Aggressively Relaxing says, I want to start live streaming as a puppet. We should plan something. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we should do something like that. And as a puppet, I'm not sure if you follow Kermit the Log or Snowdub Music and Entertainment. You should go check them out. And if you're going to do the puppet thing and maybe do some collaborations with them, and because for one, they're just hilarious dudes in the first place. They like to have fun doing some of their videos, but they have what they call the hashtag Cotton Connection. And that's what they do is they do a lot of stuff with puppets, and that's how they do most of their videos, and it's very interesting. But they would probably be overjoyed to have you join them with there, as well as I would. I'd be more than happy to do some collaborations with you or anybody for that matter. Coffee Breath says, and where did Mondo go when he absorbs Krakoa? That's a very interesting thing. I thought that was all of that stuff there was very interesting, like. Because we've seen that Krakoa kind of took him over and was speaking to him, but how and why, a lot of that is very mysterious. And we've seen that in last week's issue of what was last week's issue? Excalibur. There was a lot of things that were going on weird too there, because we've seen Rogue, whose powers I would say seem to be similar to Mondo in the fact that he absorbs just like the organic matter and things like that, and he can sense a lot of the things going on there. Where Rogue just absorbs people's powers. I guess we all kind of know that of Rogue, and she went and absorbed the power of the gateway, and then she eventually got slipped into a coma where she eventually slipped into a coma. Man, that glare is really there, man. Huh? Maybe I need to move some of this stuff to cut out some of that glare. Does that work? Yeah, a little bit. Where she slipped into that coma, and I think that has something to do with Krakoa once again. Again, guys, there's a lot of weird things that have been going on in this series. Like Jonathan Hickman, and he's kind of overseeing all the X universe here. Man, he's really done some things going on in this universe that are just really crazy, and I'm sure we're gonna all be speculating about for quite a while. And But I find it interesting in this book. Like I said, I think my expectations were low, or I think my expectations for New Mutants was a lot higher than than what we got out of this book. But again, I think a lot of the things that were going on in this book were kind of glazed over with some of the funny situations and some of the comedy going on in this book, because a lot of it, for the most part, was very funny, as we are basically introduced to the team of the New Mutants who, for the most part, a lot of the people that I've seen doing videos and doing reviews on it don't exactly know who all of these characters are that are in this book, or aren't super familiar with them. And again, to do that, I mean, you'd have to probably be really familiar with the New Mutants and obviously the X-Men universe as well, just all of the mutants. And I myself, I'm no expert when it comes to that. I'm not. Believe me, I'm no X-Men expert when it comes to that. But again, they were going into space, and they went to the Benevolence, which is part of the Shi'ar Empire, to get this King Egg. And it's very interesting what they say here about the King Egg. It says, beware the King Egg, always handle with extreme caution. Under no circumstances should a King Egg be removed from its containment shield. Interstellar pheromone production can result in unexpected swarm activity. Never introduce a king egg into an alien biome. Such activity can trigger Super Guardian protocols. And what that has to do with, I have no clue. Super Guardian protocols? I don't know. But it says never introduce king egg into an alien biome. And you got to remember, when it comes to alien biome, that's anything that's not of, if this is all coming from the Shi'ar Empire. If you're not Shi'aran, is that a word? Is that what they would be? Shi'arans? All the people of the Shi'ar Empire, all of those people, anything that's not Shi'ar is alien. That includes anything that the humans want to do with it, anything that the mutants want to do with it. They are alien because we are alien to them, to the Shi'ar Empire. So it's very interesting that they go after this king egg and exactly what they're going to do with it. But then we see that the this young team of heroes ends up getting stuck there, just kind of ditched by the crew here of the God, what is that? I was I was getting ready to say the Stargazers, but the God, yeah, the Starjammers. And it seems like there's a couple of people here from the Starjammers that we don't see in this book, which is Sikorsky and the says Kree, the Kree. It's not exactly the Kree, but again, these are some very interesting things going on in this book. Like I said, my expectations for this book were higher, and I'm sure a lot of us probably had higher expectations of this book as well. And it seems like we didn't get very much out of this book. But again, guys, I think there's things going on in this book that are going to have very, very big implications going forward in the Marvel universe, and especially this new mutant universe that we've got going on here. So again, guys, you guys need to go read this book. Now, one thing about this book I thought was a little odd was Rod Reese. Is it Reese or Rice? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but Rod Reese here, to me it looks like Reese. It looks like Reese, but not Reese, like Reese's peanut butter cups or anything. But it's spelled differently. His art, if you ever see his art, you could definitely tell it a mile away, because his art, a lot of the colors and everything look like they're watercolors. I don't know, he just has a very unique art style, and I pretty much never really seen a whole bunch of his art until I read the Winter Soldier miniseries that came out towards the beginning of the year, and which, by the way, I thought was a pretty good series. But you can definitely tell his art style. And I'm not sure how much I liked it in this book. And I noticed in this book, it kind of varied from place to place, from panel to panel. In some pages, it looked really good and it seemed really fitting. And in others, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit out of place in this book. But altogether, New Mutants, guys, was a very good book that I think you guys should definitely be reading. Again, I think we're going to be getting a lot more in issue 2 and issue 3, and obviously, going forward, just some interesting things going on here with all of these mutants, with all of the New Mutants here. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of your guys' thoughts on that. Let's see. Coffee Breath says, and where did Mondo go before he absorbs Krakoa? Oh, okay, yeah, I already read that one. Aggressively says, a wild animal ate some of my Krakoan flowers. Oh, man. I think the same thing was going on there in Krakoa as well. As we've seen at the very beginning of, was it this book? Or of X-Force, where there was kind of a wild animal going crazy and almost an attacked beast. Yeah. Coffee Breath says he does all the art alone. Crazy. Yeah. Again, that's one thing. Like sometimes I'm not for sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing when you got one artist who's doing the pencils, the inking, and the colors. But the guys who do this, you could always tell their work a mile away. You can very much see it in their work. Like another artist, excuse me, that is like that is Wando. He's one of the other people I've noticed out there that his art has stood out to me, and you can tell. Oh, excuse me. He has a very distinct style, and again, Rod Reese, I think he does a very good job. I like it, like his use of colors and everything is great. It's just in some of the parts in this book, it just seems a little out of place. I don't know. But then again, guys, now let's talk about X Force issue number 1. And if you guys have read this one, man, I haven't read all of my comic books yet for this week. I've only read like a few of them. And guys, this book, I think this might be my comic book of the week right here, man. This book was heavy. This book was heavy, but not only that, look at that beautiful cover. The cover on here is absolutely friggin' dynamite. And I've got to say, Benjamin Percy did a good job writing this book, and this is certainly a higher quality than we got in the last X-Force series. Because I think I read the first 2 issues of the last X-Force series, and it just wasn't for me. I was reading it, I'm like, it's kind of long and boring, kind of drawn out. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot going on. But this right here, guys, this X-Force, especially this book, for one, the art in it is good. It's really great, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to be honest with you guys here. The art that's going on here in X-Force, I wish the artist here who is doing this, which the art team here is, for one, it's being written by Benjamin Percy with art and colors. Joshua Cassara is doing the art, and Dean White is doing the colors, and Dustin Weaver done the cover. So Dustin Weaver is the one who done that cover, and that, I'm telling you guys, that cover is absolutely beautiful. But the art that's going on in here that Josh Cassara and Dean White are doing in here is just beautiful work, man. I love what they do here. The only thing, and it was funny because I seen Chillmonger, he actually commented on the same thing that I thought when I read this book, is this panel right here where we see Domino fighting with all these guys here. They're all wearing dark suits. They're in a dark room. You can't really tell what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, but again, I mean, that could be a good thing because that just means it's kind of chaos. Just kind of chaos is what's going on here ultimately. And I mean, in the first place, we know that she's just there kicking ass, and that's pretty much what's going on. But again, I think that one panel was kind of like they could have done a little bit better. Maybe change the background up a little bit or something. But I mean, for one, I like the art when this started off. But then you open up after we get those beautiful after. I'll show you after you get these lovely, lovely 2-page title spreads. God, don't you just love that? Totally worth the extra dollar. You know what I mean? Totally worth that extra dollar. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that. I'm not going to be mean about it because I know I'm not the only one who doesn't who doesn't like some of these ridiculous filler pages in here. But then you open up after that and you get, man, look at that art, man. That is absolutely beautiful. And I even said in my comic book review, that right there, that is hashtag my Wolverine right there, man. That's great work. That's just great. The other work that I've seen recently that has drawn Wolverine really freaking great is in Savage Avengers. Like they draw him really proper in that as well. But again, like this is just this whole page. I mean, this perfectly displays the art in this book. I mean, look at you kind of get some of that grittiness in there, some of that, just a lot of that detail in there. The color work in there is just absolutely friggin' phenomenal, man. Like when I open this book up, and even on the first page, I open this book up and I seen this artwork. That's the first page that you get here in the book, and like I open it up, I'm like, I already like this art going on in this book. Very, very good stuff. Very great work. But what happens in this book is more of the stuff that I think happens, something that was alluded to in the New Mutants book, where on Krakoa it's everywhere and everything. So and that's something that Wolverine even kind of builds upon is we're here on this island and it's supposed to be the safe island, and I think that kind of makes us reserved. We kind of let our guard down instead of constantly being on it. But we also see that Black Tom Cassidy here is kind of put in charge of their security for the island, and through this book we see that the island gets infiltrated by some people who are obviously not wanting to go along and recognize Krakoa as its own sovereign nation. And again, of course, there's always somebody trying to push back against people just kind of hanging out and doing their own thing. And if there's one book you absolutely should read this week, you absolutely should read. Aside from and that's the hard thing to say, because New Mutants has, like I said, it doesn't have a whole lot in it. It seems like more of a silly book, just silly situations that we're getting put into. But I think the implications of everything that happens in the New Mutants are going to have bigger consequences moving forward than what happens in this book. Although what happens in this book was really, really heavy. This book was intense. Like when I was reading this book, I got to the end of it. The last couple of pages, I was sitting there reading it because it just happened so fast. Everything happened so fast, and I was sitting there like, my eyes started welling up, and I'm sitting there reading, and my daughter, she came because they were asking if they could go hang out at the next door neighbor's house and play, and like I was tearing up, and my daughter looks at me, she's like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, no, I'm not crying, but I mean, I was on the brink of it just because the way everything led up here, and of course, it's just because of what happens in this book, and of course we know there's probably very little repercussion that's going to be going forward for what happens in this book at the same time. Again, just some very tricky things going on here, but there I noticed there was also some other strange things in this book that like on the cover here that we see. For one, you can see Colossus there. I mean, he's in the book, yeah, but he's certainly not in there in that form. And I can't remember this character's name right here. If you guys know who that character is, please let me know. I can't remember his name, but I know who this character is. I just can't think of it because he's not actually in this particular book. And then this character right here, who is that? Again, I'm no expert when it comes to the mutants or let alone the X-Force or anything like that. I'm no expert, and I won't claim to be. And that's what we're all here to talk about. So yeah, just some interesting things going on in this book, guys. And again, I mean, X-Force wasn't one that was on my radar at all to keep pulling or talking about or anything. And I think that's, of all the issues that have come out, this is the one that really pulled me in. I was like, whoa, damn. Like, that's heavy. That's heavy. This book was really intense, the X-Force issue #1. And if you guys have read either of these, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, because I have a feeling I may do a live stream this weekend. And I don't really do much work here on the channel on the weekends, kind of take the time off. Very interesting stuff. And let's see here. What's everybody saying here? I got to that one. I'm True Skill says, "Are you going to cover Doctor Doom?" I'll see if I can on issue 2. It may not be till next week because I still haven't read issue 1 of that. Immortal Biggie Shack, thank you so much for being here. Young Ripper 59, thank you so much for being here. Stay hydrated and keep the core tight. Yeah, you don't want me doing this? You don't want me doing that thing? Come on. Oh man, that was fun last night, man. That was very entertaining, very entertaining stuff. Coffee Breath says a lot of the Dawn of X titles seemed silly, especially after how intense House of X and Powers of X was. X-Force has zero silly, and I was glad. I gotta agree with you there 100%. Like, this book, it started off really slow. Like, I think about the first half of the book, it seems a little slow, just kind of a little bit of building, and then it just quickly takes off running like crazy. Just like crazy. Okay, Coffee Breath says Black Tom and Quentin. Okay, I'm not sure. Well, I know Black Tom, but I'm talking about this one right here. this female character right there. I'm not sure who that one is. But yeah, I know Black Tom because he's in this book. But I don't know who. Oh, okay, Quentin Quire. Okay, I was gonna say I know the character looks familiar. I just wasn't for sure who or what, and I'm not sure his skill set, his powers, or anything like that. So you can feel free to to fill me in on that. Yeah, man, I told you. I gotta go. I want to go back and watch that guy's video from start to finish on that guy, man. Oh man, that was funny. And we were talking about that. And, I left that comment. Like, I kind of feel bad because like my son, my kids are my wife is Japanese and all my kids are half Japanese, and my son, he's I guess you could say he's the runt of my kids. He's a little smaller, and he's just very skinny and everything. I love my son to death, man. He's great. But I remember, my wife, she kind of laughs about it. She goes, because I laugh. I was like, oh, look at my poor little Ethiopian kid. He looks so starved. He needs to eat. But I'm telling you, the kid eats food like crazy. But his cousins, my wife's nephews, they were the same way when they were growing up. They were like skinny and scrawny, and then you see them now, like there's some pretty big dudes, like they're buff. And but again, it's something that's within their control, and they went out there and they started hitting the weights. Just something they were kind of into because they're Japanese. They're really into Dragon Ball Z and that kinds of stuff. And they like they're like freaking buff now. Again, things that are within our control. And I don't know. Maybe Soy Spider-Man. Maybe he's a cyclist like I am. Maybe he's a cyclist. That's what he does. But I don't know. He didn't have enough muscle mass to really be doing a whole lot of that neither. Again, that was funny, man. And man, Ripa, if you're still here, I'm gonna message you sometime later today, and maybe we can get together. Maybe we can get together this weekend and just kind of sit down and do a stream together. We'll finally get this done. Maybe we'll see if we can. If you're available on Saturday or Sunday, maybe we'll see if we can get that done. Maybe I don't know. See if we can do. I don't know. I would like to keep it like a 90-minute stream or something, but I'm sure once we get together and talking, it'll probably go on a whole lot longer. Just talking about stuff, and because there's a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, just a whole bunch of different things out there, from comic books to being a content creator to Twitter to just all the different things out there. Even Comicsgate, even have a discussion about Comicsgate, and even like the fandom menace. Just some of those different things that I'm sure I would love to hear some of your perspective on. I don't know, just some of my questions. Aggressively Relaxing says, check out Fantastic Four this week. 13 dudes rushed the Thing, and he starts hitting people in the nuts. That's funny. That's funny. I haven't really read any Fantastic Four, but I'll see if I get a chance to read that. Coffee Breath says Triage. Oh, is that her name? Their character? Okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with her. Stevie J's Reviews. What's up, my friend? How are you doing? Hey, man. I think you said you're going to be available tomorrow. Let's go ahead and get together tomorrow for that morning movie chat, and we can have that discussion about about Dora the Explorer Dark Fate. Um, which is something like, I'm not sure, I was talking about that in my movie review, but then even on the subsequent stream that I did that following day about the movie Terminator Dark Fate, man. Again, guys, like, I thought the movie was decent. It was a decent movie. I mean, for one, you're not going to top a movie like Terminator or Terminator 2, you know what I mean? You just can't do it, especially when you're trying to scrub away all the movies that came before it and make a sequel to a movie that came out 28 years ago. It's like, it's nonsensical. It's nonsensical. It makes absolutely no sense why they would try to do that, especially with everything that happens in the movie. And, been a subject of debate here, I guess you could say, is with what happens at the beginning of the movie with John Connor. With what happens there at the beginning of the movie, you don't have to act as if Terminator 3 didn't happen, or any of the Terminators happened. You simply don't have to do that because of what happened in this movie. So I think there's just a whole lot of things surrounding that movie that make it, I don't know, make it a good subject of discussion. But amongst those is the fact that it doesn't necessarily scrub away everything that happened in the previous two films that it is actually being a sequel to, or any of the others. It's just it has a lot to do with you exactly what's it has a lot to do with what has happened in like the House of X and Powers of X series, where you have one timeline going on, and then Moira gets reborn and things change. Just because they change things doesn't mean that in an inevitable future something inevitable don't still happen. That's kind of what has to do with, inevitability is, it is a tricky thing. I mean, well, in the realm of like movies and comic books and things like that, I think it's very interesting and something we'll definitely be talking about. But in that movie, I'm telling you, when I watched Terminator: Dark Fate, the second we're introduced to the character of Danny, um, in that movie. Like the very second I seen her, I'm like, she's going through town, saying hi to everybody, and then she gets home and she's taking care of her family. I'm like this is Dora the Explorer. Like this character is Dora the Explorer. And in case you guys don't know, Dora the Explorer, the Lost City of Gold, actually just became available. Actually, just became available on digital. You can go find it on Vudu or any of the other streaming services. I'm sure you can purchase. Guys, I actually thought Dora the Explorer is actually a pretty good movie. I mean, if you got kids and everything and they're into that sort of thing, like I never watched a Dora cartoon or anything, but that Dora the Explorer movie is actually pretty good. Now, I'm sure most of us here are adults, and it's not necessarily something that we're gonna go out of our way to see. So I don't expect any of you guys to go out there and pay $15 for it to buy it so you can stream it online. But it'll be on disc here in about 2 weeks, and so it'll probably be at Redbox and things like that. And if you want to spare the dollar or $1.50, whatever they're charging now, and have the time, definitely make sure that you go and check out Dora the Explorer. Like it was actually a pretty good movie, and they actually even go into the cartoon realm in it as well. But there's a lot of fun things that happen in it. It's, like I said, it's just a good fun movie. Now it's not quite the level of, say, like Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. It's not quite that level, because that's one I'm excited to see is Jumanji 2 or Jumanji 3 or just Jumanji the Next Level. Can't wait to see that one. And let's see, I'm Misguided says, work sucks. Later, gang. All right, man, take it easy. I'm Misguided. Have a good one. Stevie J says, looking forward to catching tomorrow, mate. Yeah, man, let's get that done. And man, if it wasn't for having to get my kids ready for school and everything, and getting them taken to school, I would happily start the stream earlier, especially when you coming on to the show, and I know that it's a lot later there where you're at. It would be yeah, I would try to do that earlier if I could. It's just, oh man, some of the things that are out of our control, man. But again, I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the channel and having that discussion as well. I truly do. Russell Wells Benjamin says, morning, brother. How you doing, Russell Wells? He's like, lurking. I'm True Skill says Young Rippa is in here. Yeah. He's a content creator, man. I mean, one, I'm a Patreon supporter of his. And we've kind of gotten to know each other here a little bit through the social media, man. And maybe one of these days, I'll get a chance to actually meet him in person. He says, I'm True Skill says, I follow Young Rippa. He is a good guy. Yeah, he is. And again, I mean, same as everybody else, same as me, probably same as you or anybody else out there. We're not for everybody, you know what I mean? Not everybody is everybody's cup of tea, I mean, everybody kind of has their own audience, I mean, everybody has their own feelings is what it comes down to. And that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with it. And if there's one person I know is certainly okay with that as well, that's Young Rippa. He knows his content isn't for everybody. He knows that not everybody's going to agree with him, let alone like him. And that's just kind of it's just kind of the world that, I mean, people that live in reality, we understand that. Some of the weirdos out there in the world, they don't understand that. Like, some of those weirdos out there in the world think that everybody's supposed to get along. Everybody should have content that everybody likes. And things like that, which was kind of funny because that was kind of part of the discussion that Young Ripper was having yesterday on his live stream, was making content that's inclusive for everybody. And I do my best here to that. I try not to be too polarized, but of course that's where I save that for my live streams. My videos, those I try to keep centered on exactly what I'm talking about without getting too batshit crazy over it like I do on my live streams sometimes. Let's see. Russell Wills Benjamin says, on my alternate, had to make a new account. I wasn't able to comment on any other YouTube or other videos than yours. That's odd, man. I wonder what's up with that. I got a question for you. Maybe you need to do, Russell Wells Benjamin, go, and I think you have to check on your phone because I don't think that it shows up on the. I don't think it shows up on the normal. Like on the desktop version of things, but like go in here and go on your YouTube, because I'll tell you, I got this on mine at the very top of all my every time I go into chats and stuff right there. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that. The glare on there is kind of ridiculous. If I can minimize that a little bit. It says remember to keep comments respectful and follow our community guidelines. And pretty much, I think what happened there. I think what happened there was was actually I had made a comment, and I think it was on one of Young Rip of 59's videos, as a matter of fact, where he was talking about God, what was it he was talking about? It had to do with the it had to do with the Soska sisters, and when they got banned from Twitter, and there was this guy out there going and spreading outright lies about the Soska sisters and what they were, and a lot of what they do, the Soska sisters. If you don't follow them on like Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook, they are very outspoken when it comes to some things. They're constantly sharing like memes and just things like that, and just stuff about like Jeffrey Epstein, and saying, basically don't forget, because the guy didn't commit suicide, guys. There are very bad people in this world trying to keep things covered up just to keep people uninformed and keep people off balance and keep their asses covered. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it was after that video, because I left a comment in that video that I wasn't even bashing anybody, but I probably left an F bomb or two in that video, because it's absolutely ridiculous that there is somebody like the person that was out there spreading lies about the Soska sisters, spreading lies about them, especially considering where this person would be seemingly coming from, because they actually are active in trying and very vocal about trying to stop things like that, like trying, against the child molesters, against the human trafficking, against all of the things that are going on in Hollywood that a lot of these people in Hollywood and politicians even want to cover up. And I left a comment on there. Like I said, I didn't bash anybody or anything like that, but there's probably some choice words in there, and I'm sure we all do that from time to time, or maybe not. Maybe some people are a little more reserved than I am, and I think that's where it came from, because and it's been on there for a while and it hasn't gone away. And I'm wondering, like, man, am I constantly making comments that gets YouTube to be like, hey buddy, you need to calm down, we're gonna shake our stick at you and tell you and give you reminders that you need to make sure to follow our community guidelines. Again, yeah, I don't know, but that could be something to it. Russell Wells Benjamin, it could be that maybe somewhere, somehow, your account had gotten reported or something. Maybe somebody flagged it. It's really hard to say what happened there, because even here on YouTube, some people say some pretty bad things here on YouTube, and yeah, probably with very little repercussions. But again, it probably depends on what side of any particular debate or stance that you take. So yeah, it says the only bad interaction I've had on YouTube was with LB. Even then, I didn't say anything ban-worthy. Just call him out on his nonsense. Oh well, him reporting me wouldn't be the least bit surprising. Actually, I don't think LB would do that. As far as reporting people for comments that he don't like, or just stupidity or anything like that, he wouldn't. You guys may not get along, but I don't think LB would do that at all. And most of the people that follow me here on this channel, I don't think are the type of people who are going to do that. Because most of the people that follow me here on the channel, I think they're all pretty open minded and realize, that we're all adults here. You know what I mean? But again, I mean, it could be anybody. You know what I mean? All it takes is these days is one person seeing you, and all of a sudden you're outcast and you're a bad person. But anyway, guys, it's already after 9 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get going. But again, guys, if you haven't read New Mutants issue number 1 or X-Force issue number 2 or issue number 1, I would highly suggest you guys go read these. But if you do read these, make sure you read New Mutants first. Read it first, and then read X-Force. Or if you're not reading New Mutants, just read X-Force. Again, some very good stuff. And I think what I was talking about here at the beginning of the video with Ant-Man 3 going into production and being announced, with that all going on, I had a theory. It really builds upon a theory that I had before, considering that they're saying that apparently some of the news stories that the movie Ant-Man 3 is going into production under the banner of LIMBO, is what it's being called, which I thought was very interesting based on a theory that I had created, I had come up with based on the trailer for Avengers Endgame, which I obviously did before that movie came out at the theater, and we learned a little bit more about what was going on there with their time travel, the quantum realm, and things like that. But it alluded to there was this house in the background that had the address on it, 1064. And if you go back and you look at, especially going into Avengers Endgame, because they had the team of Avengers. If you go back to Avengers issue number 10. From 19, let me see, is that still up there? Avengers number 10 from 1964, 1064? I don't know. There's some lines there. It talks about Immortus and the mystic realm of Limbo and how things never change in Limbo. And Immortus is the master, is basically the master of Limbo. He's the leader there. He's kind of like the god there, if you will, of Limbo. And in case you don't know who Immortus is, and I could totally be wrong here, feel free to correct me, is that Immortus is basically a past version or incarnation or another version of Nathaniel Richards, who eventually becomes Kang the Conqueror. So all of this stuff is very interesting, but there's also the theory that Josh from the Den of Nerds put out there about the Fantastic Four possibly being introduced through this movie and possibly being ones that are stuck in the quantum realm down in that little city that you can kind of see as an Easter egg there in the background during when they're making their when Hank and Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym are making their escape from the quantum realm. You can kind of see that little city in the background, and it all having to do with that. So yeah, I don't know. Coffee Breath says, plus we know who gets snitches. We know what snitches get. Yeah, they do. Well, I guess except for online, snitches get rewarded. Russell Wills Benjamin says, who the hell is that imposter? What the? So, is that not really your account, Russell? You got two of you? Dang, you got a doppelganger. Anyway, that's all I got for this video today, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. Now, if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell and all of that good stuff. All that stuff that, YouTube tells me to tell you, because apparently I'll forget. And, well, hey, you'll forget too, because there's plenty of times I always forget to hit thumbs up button on people's videos and stuff like that. But while you're at it, make sure that you share this video with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the Second Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week. Well, look forward to seeing you guys in some future videos, and especially tomorrow when me and Stevie J reviews, we'll be talking about Terminator Dark Fate. Later. That's actually really cool, aggressively relaxing. Sister-in-law makes costumes for the Ant-Man movie. Yeah, that's sweet. It says make sure to subscribe with all of your accounts. That's funny, aggressively. Oh man, you cracked me up, dude. You all have a good one. Later.